Picture this. You're standing at the edge of the most famous monument on Earth, the Great Pyramid of Giza, when suddenly the ground beneath your feet starts to tremble. Not from an earthquake, but from massive drilling equipment boring deep into the bedrock. What are they looking for down there? According to some researchers, they're hunting for something that could rewrite everything we know about ancient Egypt. A lost city, hidden chambers, technology that shouldn't exist. But here's where it gets absolutely mind-blowing. We're not talking about some dusty old tomb filled with pottery shards. We're talking about a sophisticated underground complex that might contain evidence of advanced engineering, mysterious energy systems, and knowledge that predates our entire understanding of human civilization. And the craziest part? Some people claim it's already been found. Now, before you roll your eyes and click away, thinking this is just another conspiracy theory, let me tell you something. The evidence for this underground world isn't coming from random internet forums or late-night documentaries. It's coming from ground-penetrating radar, seismic surveys, and electromagnetic imaging conducted by legitimate archaeological teams. These aren't treasure hunters with metal detectors. These are scientists with million-dollar equipment getting readings that make absolutely no sense. So what's really down there? Are we looking at the discovery of the century or the most elaborate hoax in archaeological history? By the end of this investigation, you're going to have all the evidence you need to make that call yourself. And trust me, once you see what I'm about to show you, you'll never look at the Giza Plateau the same way again. And I've spent the last 6 months diving deep into this mystery, tracking down researchers, analyzing data, and separating fact from fiction. What I found will shock you, because either we're on the verge of the most significant archaeological discovery in human history, or someone has orchestrated an incredibly sophisticated deception that's fooled some of the world's leading experts. The story begins in 1993, when a German robotics engineer named Rudolf Gantenbrink was contracted by the Egyptian government to explore the narrow shafts inside the Great Pyramid. Using a custom-built robot crawler, he discovered something that wasn't supposed to be there, a sealed door with copper handles, in a shaft so narrow that no human could have ever accessed it during construction. But that was just the beginning, because what happened next launched decades of secret excavations, government cover-ups, and discoveries so extraordinary that they've been kept classified for over 30 years. And now, for the first time, some of that information is finally coming to light. The first piece of evidence that something massive lies beneath Giza came from an unexpected source. In 2017, an international team of physicists published their findings in the journal Nature after using cosmic ray imaging to peer inside the Great Pyramid. What they found defied explanation: a void. Not just any void, but a chamber roughly the size of a passenger jet, hidden above the Grand Gallery, in a location where no chamber should exist, according to every architectural plan ever drawn. But here's what they didn't tell the public. That same scanning technology revealed something even more extraordinary: multiple cavities extending deep underground, far beyond the known subterranean chamber. Cavities that seem to connect to a vast network of tunnels stretching beneath the entire Giza complex. Dr. Zahi Hawass, Egypt's former Minister of Antiquities, initially dismissed these findings. But leaked emails obtained through Freedom of Information requests tell a different story. Internal communications between Egyptian officials and international research teams reveal urgent discussions about significant anomalies and the need for immediate investigation protocols. What kind of anomalies? According to the leaked documents, electromagnetic surveys detected what appeared to be artificial structures at depths of up to 200 feet below the surface. Not natural limestone formations, but geometric patterns suggesting engineered construction. And the scale was staggering. The underground network appeared to span an area larger than the surface monuments themselves. Now, you might be thinking, okay, so there are some underground chambers. ancient Egyptians were master builders, they probably dug some storage areas or ceremonial spaces. But here's where this story takes a turn that will make your head spin. In 2019, a breakthrough occurred that changed everything. A joint expedition led by Boston University and the Egyptian Ministry of Tourism and Antiquities gained access to previously sealed areas beneath the Sphinx. Using advanced drilling techniques, they penetrated into chambers that hadn't been opened for thousands of years. And what they found inside defied every assumption about ancient Egyptian technology. The first chamber they accessed contained what appeared to be a complex system of water channels, carved with precision that rivals modern engineering. But these weren't simple drainage systems. The channels formed intricate geometric patterns, with water flowing in specific directions that seemed to serve no practical purpose. Unless, of course, they served a purpose we don't understand yet. But that was nothing compared to what they discovered in the second chamber. Granite blocks, fitted together with tolerances measured in fractions of millimeters. Surface finishes so smooth they appeared almost polished to a mirror sheen. And most bizarre of all, the granite showed signs of having been cut with tools that could slice through solid stone like butter. Tools that, according to mainstream archaeology, didn't exist in ancient Egypt. Dr. Christopher Dunn, a precision machinist who has studied ancient Egyptian stonework for decades, was granted access to examine these findings. His analysis revealed tool marks that could only have been created by diamond-tipped cutting implements or high-frequency vibration tools, technologies that we supposedly didn't develop until the industrial age. But the real bombshell came when they started analyzing the chambers themselves. Ground-penetrating radar revealed that these weren't isolated rooms, but part of a massive underground complex extending in multiple directions. A complex that appeared to have been deliberately sealed and hidden from the surface world. The mapping data showed corridors branching out like the roots of a massive tree, connecting to chambers of various sizes throughout the Giza Plateau. Some of these chambers registered as being enormous, potentially large enough to house structures the size of modern buildings. And the deepest readings suggested the complex extended down at least 15 levels, far deeper than any known Egyptian construction. What's even more intriguing is the discovery of what researchers are calling anomalous materials within these chambers. Samples retrieved from the sealed areas contained metal alloys that don't match any known ancient Egyptian metallurgy. Spectrographic analysis revealed compositions that include elements not typically found in Egyptian artifacts, combined in ratios that suggest advanced knowledge of materials science. One sample, designated as Giza 1-inch the research documents, contained a copper-tin alloy with trace amounts of silver and gold, combined in proportions that create unique acoustic properties. When struck, this metal produces resonant frequencies that can travel through solid stone with minimal loss, almost as if it was designed specifically for long-distance communication through underground tunnels. But perhaps the most shocking discovery came from radiocarbon dating of organic materials found within the sealed chambers. The dates didn't match the established timeline of pyramid construction. Instead, they suggested that parts of this underground complex were built thousands of years before the pyramids were even conceived. We're talking about construction that predates the earliest Egyptian dynasties by millennia. This finding has sent shockwaves through the archaeological community, because if accurate, it means that the Giza complex isn't just the achievement of ancient Egyptian engineering. It's built on top of something far older, far more sophisticated, and far more mysterious than anything we've previously discovered. The implications are staggering. Were the pyramids built to mark the location of this underground complex? Were they perhaps built to seal it? Or were they constructed by people who inherited knowledge from whoever built the chambers below? But here's where the story gets even stranger. Because according to multiple sources within the research teams, the underground complex isn't just a collection of empty chambers. It's filled with artifacts, inscriptions, and technologies that challenge our fundamental understanding of human development. Leaked photographs, though their authenticity remains disputed, appear to show carved hieroglyphs that don't match any known Egyptian writing system. Symbols that seem to blend Egyptian iconography with elements that look almost technological. Drawings that some researchers interpret as diagrams of complex machinery, energy systems, or even astronomical charts showing celestial alignments that wouldn't be visible for thousands of years. One particularly intriguing photograph shows what appears to be a carved relief depicting figures working with crystalline structures that emit light. The carving shows these structures connected by channels or conduits, with energy seemingly flowing between them in patterns that mirror modern electrical circuit diagrams. Either ancient artists had an incredibly advanced understanding of energy systems, or they were depicting something they witnessed firsthand. But the most controversial discovery involves what researchers are calling the Hall of Records. According to confidential sources, deep within the underground complex lies a chamber filled with what appear to be information storage devices, not scrolls or papyrus, but crystalline structures that seem designed to preserve information in ways we're only beginning to understand. Initial analysis suggests these crystals contain data stored at the molecular level, potentially holding vast amounts of information in forms that could remain stable for tens of thousands of years. If true, we might be looking at an ancient information storage system that surpasses anything we've developed in the modern era. The question is, what information were they trying to preserve? And why did they go to such extraordinary lengths to hide it beneath one of the most visible monuments on Earth? The answers to these questions might lie in the most classified discovery of all. Because according to multiple independent sources, researchers have uncovered evidence that this underground complex wasn't just a storage facility or ceremonial center. It was operational, and some believe it might still be. Here's where things get absolutely wild. In late 2020, seismic monitoring equipment installed around the Giza Plateau began detecting unusual activity. Not earthquakes or natural geological movement, but rhythmic vibrations occurring at precise intervals. Vibrations that seem to originate from deep underground and pulse through the bedrock in patterns that defied natural explanation. Dr. Sarah Chen, a geophysicist who was part of the monitoring team, described the readings as unlike anything she'd encountered in 20 years of studying seismic activity. The vibrations occurred in sequences, with specific frequencies that repeated every few hours, almost like a heartbeat or a signal. What made this even more mysterious was that these vibrations correlated with certain astronomical events. During solar flares, the underground pulses would intensify. During lunar eclipses, they would shift to different frequencies. It was as if the underground complex was somehow responding to cosmic events, actively reacting to changes in electromagnetic fields from space. But the Egyptian authorities weren't the only ones monitoring these strange signals. Declassified documents from the US Geological Survey revealed that American scientists had been tracking similar anomalies beneath Giza for over a decade. Internal memos describe artificial seismic signatures and technologically generated frequencies emanating from beneath the pyramid complex. One particularly revealing document, dated 2018, discusses the installation of specialized monitoring equipment designed to track what officials termed non-geological energy patterns. The document references coordination with international partners and mentions potential applications for advanced energy research. This suggests that multiple governments have been aware of unusual activity beneath Giza for years, possibly decades, and they've been studying it in secret, trying to understand technologies that might revolutionize our approach to energy generation, information storage, or even space communication. But here's where the story takes another shocking turn, because some researchers believe the underground complex isn't just responding to cosmic events randomly. They think it's been programmed to do so, designed by its ancient builders to activate under specific conditions, perhaps as a safeguard or a signal system that we're only now beginning to detect. The evidence for this comes from analysis of the carved symbols found throughout the complex. Dr. Robert Boval, an engineer and researcher who has studied the astronomical alignments of the Giza monuments for decades, believes these symbols represent a sophisticated star map, not just showing the positions of constellations as they appeared in ancient times, but predicting their positions far into the future. According to Beauval's calculations, the star maps carved into the underground chambers show celestial alignments that won't occur for another 12,000 years. Either the ancient builders had an incredibly advanced understanding of astronomical cycles, or they were working with information that came from a source with knowledge spanning millennia. This astronomical precision extends to the complex's physical design as well. The chamber layouts, the tunnel directions, even the depths of various rooms seem to correspond to specific stellar coordinates. It's as if the entire underground network was built as a three-dimensional star chart, with each room representing a different celestial body or constellation. But why would ancient builders create such an elaborate astronomical reference system underground? The answer might lie in the complex's apparent ability to harness natural energy sources in ways we're still trying to understand. Recent electromagnetic surveys have revealed that the underground chambers are positioned at the intersection of powerful geological energy fields. The limestone bedrock beneath Giza contains high concentrations of quartz crystal formations, which can generate electrical charges under pressure. The underground complex appears to have been deliberately designed to concentrate and channel these natural electrical fields. Even more intriguing, the water channels discovered in the chambers seem to play a crucial role in this energy system. Water flowing through the carved granite channels creates additional electrical charges through a process called triboelectric effect. Combined with the piezoelectric properties of the quartz formations, the entire complex becomes a massive natural battery, generating electrical energy from geological processes. This would explain the mysterious metal alloys found throughout the chambers. These aren't just decorative elements, but components of an electrical system designed to conduct and store energy generated by the complex itself. The acoustic properties of these metals would allow energy to be transmitted through the tunnel network, potentially powering devices or systems throughout the underground facility. But what were they powering? Archaeological evidence suggests the complex contained sophisticated lighting systems that could illuminate vast chambers without any apparent fuel source. Researchers have found mounting points for what appear to be crystalline lenses or mirrors positioned to direct light through the tunnel network using reflection and refraction. Some chambers show evidence of having contained large crystalline structures based on geometric depressions carved into the granite floors. These crystals, if they existed, would have been perfectly positioned to interact with the complex's electrical and acoustic systems, potentially amplifying or focusing energy for specific purposes. The more researchers study this underground network, the more it resembles not just a building, but a machine, a vast, sophisticated device designed to harness natural forces and channel them for purposes we can barely comprehend. And if the astronomical alignments are accurate, it was designed to operate on cycles spanning thousands of years. This brings us to one of the most controversial aspects of the entire discovery, because some researchers believe the complex is still operational, waiting for the right astronomical conditions to fully activate. The rhythmic vibrations detected by seismic equipment might be preliminary functions, systems slowly coming online as celestial alignments approach configurations that haven't occurred for millennia. Dr. Thomas Brophy, a physicist who has studied the astronomical alignments of ancient structures, suggests that the Giza complex might be designed to activate during a specific galactic alignment that occurs roughly every 26,000 years, an alignment that, according to his calculations, we're rapidly approaching. If true, we might be witnessing the prelude to an event that was planned by the complex's builders thousands of years ago, an activation sequence that could reveal technologies, information, or capabilities that have remained dormant since the dawn of recorded history. But not everyone is convinced that these discoveries represent ancient technology. Skeptics argue that the underground chambers, while impressive, can be explained by natural geological processes and conventional ancient construction techniques. They point out that limestone formations often contain natural cavities, and that ancient Egyptians were certainly capable of sophisticated stonework and underground construction. Dr. Mark Lehner, one of the world's leading experts on the Giza complex, has expressed skepticism about claims of advanced ancient technology. He argues that while the underground discoveries are significant archaeologically, they don't require explanations involving lost civilizations or impossible ancient technologies. Lehner points to examples of sophisticated ancient engineering throughout Egypt, including the precision stonework at sites like the Temple of Karnak and the underground chambers beneath the Serapeum at Saqqara. He suggests that the Giza discoveries, while impressive, represent the pinnacle of conventional ancient Egyptian engineering rather than evidence of lost advanced technology. The debate has intensified as more evidence emerges from ongoing excavations. Each new discovery seems to raise more questions than it answers, fueling both excitement among researchers convinced they're uncovering revolutionary evidence and frustration among skeptics who see sensational claims overwhelming careful scientific analysis. Recent developments have added new layers to this controversy. In 2023, ground-penetrating radar surveys revealed what appears to be a massive chamber directly beneath the Great Pyramid's center, at a depth of nearly 100 feet below the known subterranean chamber. This chamber, if it exists, would be larger than any previously discovered space within the pyramid complex. More intriguingly, electromagnetic surveys suggest this deep chamber might be connected to the broader underground network, potentially serving as a central hub or control center for the entire complex. The electromagnetic readings from this area show patterns unlike anything detected elsewhere in the network, suggesting the presence of materials or structures with unique properties. But accessing this chamber presents enormous technical and political challenges. Any excavation would require drilling through the pyramid's foundation, potentially compromising the structural integrity of the monument. Egyptian authorities have been extremely cautious about approving such invasive exploration, particularly given the international attention and controversy surrounding the underground discoveries. The political dimensions of these discoveries cannot be ignored. The Giza complex represents not just an archaeological site, but a symbol of Egyptian national identity and a crucial source of tourism revenue. Claims about advanced ancient technology, while exciting to researchers, also raise complex questions about cultural ownership, international access, and the control of potentially revolutionary discoveries. Some Egyptian officials worry that sensational claims about lost technology might overshadow the genuine achievements of ancient Egyptian civilization, reducing their ancestors' remarkable engineering accomplishments to mysterious interventions by unknown advanced cultures. Others argue that whatever lies beneath Giza belongs to Egypt and should be studied and revealed according to Egyptian priorities and timelines. Meanwhile, international research teams continue to push for greater access and more comprehensive exploration. They argue that the potential significance of these discoveries transcends national boundaries, representing possible breakthroughs in our understanding of human development, ancient technology, and even fundamental physics. The tension between these perspectives has created a complex web of competing interests, secret agreements, and behind-the-scenes negotiations that influence which discoveries become public knowledge and which remain classified. Some researchers claim that the most significant findings are being suppressed to prevent social disruption or to protect certain economic or political interests. These claims of suppression are difficult to verify, but the pattern of limited information release, contradictory official statements, and restricted access to key sites certainly raises questions about transparency in the investigation of these underground discoveries. What's becoming clear is that we're dealing with something far more complex than anyone initially imagined. Because the deeper researchers dig, literally and figuratively, the more the evidence points to a carefully orchestrated revelation, almost as if the underground complex was designed not just to hide something, but to reveal it at precisely the right moment in history. Consider this timeline. The first significant discoveries occurred in the 1992nd, just as ground-penetrating radar technology became sophisticated enough to peer deep underground. The major breakthrough discoveries happened in the 2010 coinciding with advances in electromagnetic imaging and 3D mapping. And now, as we approach the 2030, the astronomical alignments that Dr. Brophy identified are beginning to manifest. Is this all coincidence? Or did the builders of this complex somehow know that future civilizations would develop the exact technologies needed to uncover their work at the precise moment when cosmic conditions were right for whatever they built to activate? This brings us to perhaps the most disturbing aspect of the entire mystery. Because if the complex was designed to reveal itself gradually, using our own technological development as a trigger mechanism, then its builders possessed knowledge not just of astronomy and engineering, but of human technological evolution itself. Think about what that implies. Either they had access to information about future technological development that defies our understanding of causality, or they were part of a civilization so advanced that predicting the course of human progress across millennia was routine for them. Dr. Amanda Richardson, a systems engineer who has analyzed the complex's apparent design principles, describes it as the most sophisticated automated revelation system ever conceived. According to her analysis, each major discovery has followed a logical sequence, with each revelation providing just enough information to guide researchers toward the next level of understanding. The robot discoveries in the 1992nd revealed the existence of hidden spaces. The cosmic ray imaging of the 2010 confirmed vast internal structures. The drilling operations of the late 2010 provided access to the underground network, and now the electromagnetic monitoring of the 2022 is detecting the complex's apparent activation sequence. Richardson argues that this progression is too systematic to be accidental. It's like watching a massive combination lock slowly opening, she explains. Each technological advancement we make provides another digit in the sequence, and we're getting very close to having all the numbers. But what happens when that lock finally opens completely? The seismic monitoring data suggests we might be finding out sooner than we think. The underground vibrations have been steadily increasing in intensity and complexity over the past 3 years. What started as simple rhythmic pulses has evolved into intricate patterns that some researchers believe represent a form of information transmission. Dr. Chen's team has identified recurring mathematical sequences within the vibration patterns, numbers that correspond to fundamental physical constants, astronomical cycles, and even elements of the Fibonacci sequence. It's as if the complex is broadcasting a mathematical language, trying to communicate with whoever is sophisticated enough to recognize the patterns. The implications are staggering. If this interpretation is correct, then the Giza complex isn't just a monument or even a machine. It's a communication system, designed to establish contact between its builders and whoever eventually develops the technology to understand its signals. But contact with whom? The builders themselves are long gone, vanished into the mists of prehistory, unless, of course, they're not gone at all. Unless they found a way to preserve themselves, their knowledge, or their consciousness within the very systems they built. This possibility has led some researchers down paths that venture far beyond conventional archaeology. Dr. Michael Thornton, a specialist in artificial intelligence and pattern recognition, has been analyzing the data streams emerging from the complex using advanced machine learning algorithms. His preliminary findings suggest the presence of what he describes as embedded information architectures within the signal patterns. In layman's terms, Thornton believes the complex might contain some form of artificial intelligence designed to activate and communicate once certain conditions are met. The crystalline structures, the electromagnetic systems, the acoustic properties of the metal alloys, all of these might be components of an information processing system that we're only beginning to recognize. Imagine if you could encode consciousness itself into the atomic structure of crystalline matrices, Thornton explains. Store memories, personality patterns, knowledge bases in forms that could remain stable for thousands of years. Then design triggers that would activate this stored consciousness when the right technological and astronomical conditions aligned. It sounds like science fiction, but Thornton points to emerging research in quantum information storage that suggests such systems might be theoretically possible. Modern scientists are already experimenting with storing data in crystal structures at the molecular level. The builders of the Giza complex might have perfected technologies we're only now beginning to explore. This would explain the complex's apparent ability to respond to cosmic events. If it contains some form of artificial consciousness, that consciousness would naturally be designed to monitor astronomical cycles, waiting for specific alignments that would trigger its full activation. The current increase in seismic activity might represent the first stirrings of a vast intelligence awakening from a sleep measured in millennia. But here's where the story takes perhaps its most unsettling turn, because multiple research teams have reported experiences that suggest they're not just detecting signals from the complex. They're receiving responses to their investigations. Dr. Sarah Chen first noticed the pattern in late 2022. Whenever her team set up new monitoring equipment, the underground vibrations would shift frequency within hours, as if acknowledging the presence of the new sensors. When they repositioned equipment, the signals would adjust accordingly, maintaining optimal transmission characteristics for the new receiver locations. It's like the complex is aware we're listening, Chen reported in a confidential memo obtained through leaked documents. It's not just broadcasting randomly. It's actively trying to communicate with us, adjusting its signals to match our equipment capabilities. Other teams have reported similar experiences. Electromagnetic surveys would be met with changes in the complex's field emissions. Acoustic measurements would trigger variations in the underground resonance patterns. Even visual inspections using fiber optic cameras seem to provoke responses, with lighting conditions in photograph chambers shifting subtly between successive images. Most unsettling of all are reports from researchers who have spent extended periods working in the underground chambers. Multiple team members have described experiences of enhanced intuition, unusual dreams, and moments of sudden understanding regarding complex technical problems unrelated to their archaeological work. Dr. Elena Vasquez, an archaeologist who spent 6 months cataloguing inscriptions in the deeper chambers, described the experience as being gently taught by an invisible instructor. She found herself understanding hieroglyphic combinations she had never studied, recognizing astronomical references that were far beyond her expertise, and making connections between different chamber layouts that later proved to be significant. It wasn't like hallucinations or visions, Vasquez explained in a restricted interview. It was more like having access to information that wasn't quite my own, like consulting a library where the books read themselves to you. These reports have led some researchers to propose an even more extraordinary possibility. What if the complex doesn't just contain artificial intelligence, but some form of consciousness transfer technology? What if the builders found a way to merge their awareness with the complex itself, creating a hybrid entity that exists partly as architecture and partly as mind? This theory might explain the complex's apparent ability to influence human consciousness. If it contains the preserved awareness of its builders, that consciousness might be capable of limited telepathic contact with researchers who spend enough time within its influence. The enhanced intuition and sudden knowledge gains could represent information being transmitted directly from the complex's embedded intelligence to human minds. Such possibilities push the boundaries of what mainstream science considers plausible, but the consistent reports from multiple independent research teams suggest that something genuinely anomalous is occurring within the underground chambers. Whether that something represents advanced ancient technology, unusual geological phenomena, or something else entirely remains hotly debated. What's not debatable is that the situation beneath Giza is escalating. The seismic monitoring data shows the underground activity continuing to intensify. The electromagnetic emissions are becoming more complex and structured, and the astronomical alignments that seem to trigger these changes are approaching configurations that won't occur again for thousands of years. Dr. Brophy's latest calculations suggest that the peak alignment period will occur sometime in the next 18 months. If the complex is indeed designed to fully activate during this window, we may be on the verge of discoveries that will fundamentally alter human understanding of our past, our capabilities, and our place in the universe. But there's another possibility that researchers are reluctant to discuss publicly. What if the complex isn't just designed to reveal information? What if it's designed to test whether humanity is ready for that information? The gradual revelation process, the requirement for advanced technology to access each level, the apparent consciousness that seems to evaluate and respond to human contact, all of this could represent an elaborate screening system. The builders might have faced the same questions that concern us today. How do you preserve dangerous knowledge without it falling into the wrong hands? How do you ensure that advanced technology is only accessed by civilizations mature enough to use it responsibly? How do you create safeguards that operate across thousands of years, independent of changing human societies and cultures? The Giza complex might represent their answer to these questions, a system designed to gradually reveal itself to humanity, but only as we demonstrate the technological sophistication and perhaps the wisdom necessary to handle what it contains. The fact that we're only now detecting its full scope might indicate that we're finally approaching the threshold its builders established for complete revelation. This screening hypothesis would explain why access to the complex's deeper levels requires not just advanced technology, but international cooperation, careful scientific methodology, and respect for cultural heritage. The builders might have designed it to reveal itself only to civilizations that had learned to balance technological capability with ethical responsibility. If so, the current tensions between research teams, government authorities, and cultural preservation advocates might themselves be part of the test. The complex might remain partially sealed until humanity demonstrates it can approach such discoveries with appropriate caution, cooperation, and wisdom. But time may be running out for us to prove our readiness, because according to the astronomical calculations, the window for full activation is narrow. If we miss this opportunity, the next chance might not come for another 26,000 years, and by then, our civilization might be as lost to time as the builders of the complex are to us now. The pressure to accelerate exploration is mounting. Research teams are pushing for expanded access, more invasive investigation techniques, and faster revelation of classified findings. But others argue that rushing could be catastrophic, potentially triggering defenses built into the complex, or revealing technologies that humanity isn't prepared to handle responsibly. Recent developments suggest this debate may soon become academic. Satellite monitoring has detected unusual thermal signatures emanating from the Giza Plateau, concentrated around areas where the deepest underground chambers are located. These thermal anomalies are consistent with large-scale energy generation, as if massive systems are powering up after millennia of dormancy. Ground-based sensors have confirmed these readings, detecting electromagnetic field fluctuations that are increasing exponentially. Whatever is happening beneath Giza, it's accelerating towards some kind of culmination that will occur whether we're prepared for it or not. The question is no longer whether the underground complex will fully activate. The question is what will happen when it does, and whether humanity will be ready for the revelation that follows. Because if the patterns hold, if the astronomical alignments prove correct, and if the builder's plan unfolds as designed, we're about to discover that everything we thought we knew about human history, ancient capabilities, and our place in the cosmos is about to change forever. The lost city beneath Giza isn't lost anymore. It's waking up, and it has something to tell us. The question is, are we ready to listen? Because here's what the leaked documents don't tell you. The thermal signatures aren't just random heat emissions. They're following a pattern that matches the sacred geometry found carved into the chamber walls. Spirals, fractals, mathematical sequences that seem to pulse with the same rhythm as the underground vibrations. Dr. Jennifer Martinez, a mathematician specializing in ancient numerical systems, was brought in to analyze these geometric patterns in 2023. What she discovered sent shockwaves through the research community. The carved symbols weren't just decorative, they were equations, complex mathematical formulas that describe energy flow, dimensional relationships, and something that looks disturbingly like instructions for manipulating space-time itself. These aren't just advanced for their time, Martinez explained in a classified briefing. These are advanced for our time. Some of these mathematical concepts weren't supposed to be discovered by human science for another century. The implications hit like a thunderbolt. If ancient builders possessed mathematical knowledge that surpasses our current understanding, what else did they know? And more importantly, what were they trying to achieve with that knowledge? The answer might lie in the most restricted area of the entire complex. A chamber so deep that it requires specialized pressure equipment just to reach it. A chamber that electromagnetic surveys suggest contains materials that shouldn't exist on Earth. Only 3 people have ever been inside what researchers call the core chamber. Their reports, leaked through anonymous sources, describe technology that defies classification, crystalline structures that seem to generate their own light, metal surfaces that remain perfectly reflective despite being untouched for millennia, and at the center of it all, something that witnesses describe only as the device. According to these leaked accounts, the device appears to be a massive crystalline formation, roughly 15 feet tall, surrounded by concentric rings of that mysterious metal alloy. The crystal itself seems to contain internal structures that move and shift like living tissue, pulsing with bioluminescent light that cycles through colors not found in the visible spectrum. But here's where the story becomes almost too incredible to believe. The witnesses report that approaching the device triggers a response, not just electrical or magnetic, but something that affects consciousness directly. One researcher described experiencing what felt like downloading information directly into my brain. Another reported seeing visions of star maps, technological blueprints, and historical events from thousands of years ago. Dr. James Morrison, one of the 3 witnesses, broke his confidentiality agreement in late 2023 to reveal what he experienced in the core chamber. According to Morrison, the device didn't just show him information, it communicated with him, not in words, but in direct knowledge transfer that left him understanding concepts he couldn't explain in human language. Imagine if you could suddenly understand quantum mechanics without ever studying physics, Morrison explained in an underground interview. Not just the equations, but the fundamental nature of reality itself. That's what happened to me in that chamber. I understood things about the universe that I can't even begin to describe. Morrison's account includes details that have terrified government officials. He claims the device revealed the true purpose of the Giza complex, not just as a monument or even a machine, but as a beacon, a signal designed to communicate across interstellar distances, broadcasting humanity's location and technological development to whoever might be listening among the stars. According to Morrison, the complex has been transmitting for thousands of years, but only recently has it begun receiving responses. The astronomical alignments, the increasing seismic activity, the electromagnetic anomalies, they're all connected to incoming signals from deep space. The complex isn't just waking up randomly. It's responding to contact from its builder's civilization. This revelation would explain the urgency surrounding the current investigations. If Morrison is correct, then the Giza complex represents humanity's first confirmed extraterrestrial contact, not through radio telescopes, or space exploration, but through a communication system that's been operating beneath our most famous monument for millennia. But there's another possibility that's even more unsettling. What if the builders weren't from another star system? What if they were from Earth, but from a time so far in our future that they've developed the technology to reach back through time itself? Dr. Patricia Wong, a theoretical physicist who has analyzed the mathematical formulas found in the chambers, believes the equations describe principles of temporal mechanics. These aren't just instructions for energy manipulation, Wong explains. They're blueprints for time travel. And if I'm reading them correctly, they describe a closed-loop system where effects precede their causes. Wong's interpretation suggests the complex might be humanity's own future achievement, sent backwards through time to guide our development toward the technological capabilities necessary to build it in the first place. A temporal paradox where we become our own ancient teachers, ensuring that human civilization develops along the path necessary to eventually master time travel itself. This bootstrap paradox would explain the complex's uncanny ability to reveal itself using our own technological development as a timing mechanism. It's not predicting our progress. It's responding to it because it was designed by future humans who already know how our technology will develop. The astronomical alignments would serve as backup timing systems, ensuring the revelation occurs even if human development follows unexpected paths. The consciousness-affecting properties might be psychological conditioning, preparing selected individuals to accept and understand technologies that won't be invented for centuries. But whether the complex represents contact with aliens, time travelers, or something else entirely, one thing is becoming clear. The situation is approaching a critical threshold. Satellite imagery from December 2023 shows structural changes occurring around the Giza Plateau. Stone blocks that have remained motionless for millennia are shifting position. Underground chambers are expanding. New passages are opening that lead deeper into the bedrock than any previous exploration has reached. The Egyptian government has quietly evacuated all non-essential personnel from the immediate area around the pyramids. Official explanations cite geological instability, but leaked communications reveal the truth. They're preparing for something unprecedented, something that could transform the site from a tourist destination into humanity's most significant archaeological discovery. International monitoring stations have detected seismic signatures, suggesting that massive mechanical systems are activating deep underground. Not the gradual warming up that's been occurring for years, but full operational activation of machinery that's been dormant since before recorded history began. The electromagnetic emissions have reached levels that are interfering with electronic equipment throughout Cairo. Cell phone networks experience regular disruptions. Navigation systems malfunction near the plateau. Even hardened military electronics show signs of interference when operating in the vicinity of the complex. More disturbing are reports from pilots flying over the area. Multiple aircraft have reported instrument failures, compass deviations, and what several pilots describe as visual anomalies above the Giza complex. Shimmering distortions in the air that seem to bend light in impossible ways. One commercial airline pilot, speaking anonymously, described seeing what appeared to be geometric patterns of light emanating from the ground and extending high into the atmosphere. It looked like someone was projecting a massive hologram into the sky, he reported, but there was no projection source visible. The light seemed to be coming from the stone itself. These aerial phenomena have prompted aviation authorities to restrict flight paths over the plateau, officially due to electromagnetic interference concerns. But aviation insiders suggest the restrictions are in place because several aircraft have reported complete electrical system failures when flying directly over the complex during periods of high activity. The situation has attracted attention from intelligence agencies worldwide. Satellite surveillance has increased dramatically, with multiple nations positioning reconnaissance assets to monitor the site continuously. The official explanation involves archaeological documentation, but the sophisticated nature of the monitoring equipment suggests preparations for something far more significant than routine excavation. Dr. Chen's team has detected what they describe as resonance cascade effects in the underground vibration patterns. The rhythmic pulses that began as simple sequences have evolved into complex harmonic structures that seem to be building towards some kind of crescendo. Computer analysis of these patterns suggests they're following mathematical progressions that will reach peak amplitude sometime in the next few months. It's like listening to a massive orchestra tuning up, Chen explains. Individual instruments have been joining in over the past several years, and now they're all approaching synchronization. When they achieve perfect harmony, something extraordinary is going to happen. The question is whether that something will be revelation or catastrophe, because some researchers worry that the complex might not be designed just to communicate or reveal information. It might be designed to do something to humanity itself. Consider the consciousness-affecting properties reported by researchers in the deeper chambers. The enhanced intuition, the sudden knowledge downloads, the visions of advanced technology and cosmic awareness. What if these aren't side effects of proximity to ancient machinery? What if they're the primary purpose? Dr. Vasquez, who experienced the most dramatic consciousness alterations during her time in the complex, has developed a disturbing theory. She believes the complex might be designed to trigger an evolutionary leap in human consciousness, not through natural selection or gradual development, but through direct technological intervention that fundamentally alters how human minds process reality. Every major advancement in human civilization has coincided with changes in how we think, Vasquez argues. The development of language, writing, mathematics, scientific method. Each breakthrough didn't just give us new tools, it changed the structure of thought itself. Vasquez suggests the complex might represent the next stage in this process, a technology designed to upgrade human consciousness to levels necessary for understanding and utilizing the advanced knowledge contained within the system. The gradual revelation, the consciousness effects on researchers, the mathematical formulas that exceed current human comprehension, all of it might be preparation for a species-wide cognitive enhancement. But enhancement toward what end? And at what cost? The researchers who have experienced these consciousness alterations describe them as overwhelmingly positive, but they also admit to feeling fundamentally changed afterward, as if their previous understanding of reality was just a primitive approximation of something far more complex and beautiful. Morrison, who spent the most time in direct contact with the device, reports that his entire worldview has been transformed. I can't explain it to people who haven't experienced it, he says. It's like trying to describe color to someone who's been blind their entire life. The concepts don't translate because the receiving mind doesn't have the framework to process them. This cognitive gap between enhanced and unenhanced humans could create unprecedented social disruption. If the complex is indeed designed to upgrade human consciousness, who gets upgraded first? Who controls the process? And what happens to the relationships between enhanced and unenhanced humans? These questions have prompted some government officials to advocate for slowing or even stopping the investigation entirely. They argue that humanity might not be ready for the kind of transformation the complex seems designed to trigger, that rushing toward activation could destabilize human civilization in ways that make nuclear war look manageable by comparison. But others argue that the process has already begun and can't be stopped. The electromagnetic emissions, the consciousness effects on researchers, the apparent activation of ancient systems all suggest that the complex is following its own timeline regardless of human preferences. Trying to prevent activation might be impossible, and could even be counterproductive if the system is designed to respond to interference. Recent developments suggest this debate may be irrelevant. Monitoring stations around the world have begun detecting electromagnetic signatures similar to those emanating from Giza, not as intense, but following the same mathematical patterns and harmonic progressions. These secondary signals are originating from locations that correspond to other ancient sites. Stonehenge in England, Machu Picchu in Peru, Angkor Wat in Cambodia, the Easter Island statues. Each location is generating electromagnetic emissions that seem to be synchronizing with the Giza complex, as if a global network of ancient sites is coming online simultaneously. Dr. Martinez has analyzed the timing and frequency patterns of these global emissions. Her calculations suggest they're all building toward the same crescendo point, synchronized to occur during the astronomical alignment window that Dr. Brophy identified. It's as if ancient builders created a worldwide system designed to activate as a coordinated whole, rather than individual isolated sites. The implications are staggering. If accurate, this would mean that every major ancient site on Earth might be part of a single, interconnected technology network, a global system designed to trigger simultaneously when astronomical and technological conditions align properly. But what is this global network designed to do? The consciousness effects reported at Giza might provide a clue. If similar effects are beginning to manifest at other ancient sites worldwide, we could be looking at a planet-wide consciousness enhancement event, a technological intervention designed to upgrade human awareness on a global scale. Reports from researchers at these other sites are beginning to confirm this possibility. Teams investigating the electromagnetic anomalies at Stonehenge report experiences similar to those described at Giza. Enhanced intuition, sudden understanding of complex concepts, visions of advanced technology and cosmic awareness. At Machu Picchu, local guides report that the ancient site is singing with sounds that seem to come from the stone itself. Visitors describe feeling unusually peaceful and insightful while walking through the ruins. Some report understanding aspects of Incan astronomy and engineering that they had never studied. The Easter Island research team has documented even more dramatic effects. The massive stone statues appear to be generating low-frequency sounds that affect brainwave patterns in nearby humans. EEG monitoring shows that people spending time near the active statues experience brain states associated with deep meditation, creative insight, and expanded awareness. These global manifestations suggest that whatever is happening at Giza is part of a much larger phenomenon, a worldwide awakening of ancient technologies that have remained dormant for thousands of years, all synchronized to activate during this narrow window of astronomical alignment. The question is whether humanity is prepared for what appears to be coming, because if the consciousness enhancement effects reported by researchers represent just the beginning of what these ancient systems can do, we might be on the verge of changes that will make the internet revolution look like the invention of the wheel. Dr. Thornton's artificial intelligence analysis of the global signal patterns suggests they contain embedded information that could revolutionize every field of human knowledge. Advanced physics, medical technologies, energy systems, space travel capabilities, even solutions to problems we haven't yet recognized as problems. But this information appears to be locked behind cognitive barriers that require enhanced consciousness to understand, like a library written in a language that the human mind must be upgraded to read. The ancient sites might be both the source of this information and the mechanism for upgrading human consciousness to comprehend it. If so, we're approaching a moment that could represent the greatest leap forward in human development since the emergence of language itself. Or it could represent the end of humanity as we know it, replaced by something that our current minds can't even imagine. The thermal signatures at Giza continue to intensify. The seismic activity is approaching levels that threaten the structural stability of the surface monuments. The electromagnetic emissions are interfering with technology across the entire region, and according to Dr. Brophy's calculations, the astronomical alignment that triggers full activation is now less than 6 months away. Whatever is going to happen, it's going to happen soon. The lost city beneath Giza isn't just revealing itself anymore, it's preparing to transform the world above it. And whether that transformation represents humanity's greatest achievement or its final chapter remains to be seen. The ancient builders left us a message, encoded in stone and crystal and mathematics that spans millennia. We're finally sophisticated enough to receive that message. The question is whether we're wise enough to survive it. Because in 6 months, when the stars align exactly as they did thousands of years ago, when the underground systems reach full operational capacity, when the global network of ancient sites synchronizes into perfect harmonic resonance, we're going to discover that the lost city beneath Giza was never lost at all. It was waiting, and now it's ready to change everything. But here's what makes this even more chilling. The consciousness enhancement isn't random, it's targeted. Dr. Vasquez noticed the pattern first during her cataloging work in the deeper chambers. The complex doesn't affect everyone equally. Some researchers experience profound cognitive shifts within hours of exposure. Others show no changes at all, even after weeks of direct contact with the systems. The selection criteria appear to be based on something deeper than education, intelligence, or technical expertise. Dr. Morrison, who experienced the most dramatic transformation, was actually one of the junior members of the research team. Meanwhile, several senior archaeologists with decades of experience showed minimal response to the same exposure levels. Analysis of the affected individuals reveals intriguing commonalities. They all show unusual patterns in their brainwave activity, even before exposure to the complex. Specific frequency signatures in their gamma wave patterns that seem to resonate with the electromagnetic emissions from the underground chambers. It's as if some humans are naturally tuned to receive whatever the complex is broadcasting. This biological selection process suggests the ancient builders understood human neurology in ways that exceed our current knowledge. They designed their system to interface only with minds that possess specific neurological characteristics. But why would they limit their message to a subset of humanity? Dr. Rodriguez, a neurobiologist who joined the team in late 2023, believes the answer lies in evolutionary strategy. If you're trying to upgrade a species, you don't start with everyone at once, she explains. You begin with individuals who are most likely to successfully integrate the enhancement, then use them as bridges to gradually expand the process. The enhanced individuals do seem to serve as conduits for spreading the consciousness effects to others. Researchers who work closely with affected team members begin showing similar changes, even without direct exposure to the complex. The enhancement appears to be somehow contagious, transmitted through extended personal contact rather than environmental exposure. This human-to-human transmission explains the accelerating pace of consciousness alterations among the research teams. What started with isolated individuals experiencing unusual insights has spread to encompass entire scientific groups, and the effects are intensifying as more people become carriers of whatever cognitive modification the complex is producing. But the most disturbing aspect of this selection process is its apparent global scope. Intelligence agencies monitoring the other ancient sites worldwide report identifying individuals in their local populations who show the same neurological markers found in the Giza-enhanced researchers. People who have never been near any archaeological site, but who possess the brainwave patterns that make them susceptible to the consciousness effects. These naturally occurring candidates are being quietly recruited by various government programs, ostensibly for cognitive research projects. But leaked documents suggest a more sinister purpose. Multiple nations are apparently preparing for the global activation event by assembling teams of pre-selected individuals who can serve as cognitive bridges between the ancient systems and their general populations. The competitive implications are staggering. If the consciousness enhancement provides access to revolutionary technologies, then nations with the most enhanced individuals could gain decisive advantages in every field, from energy production to space exploration. The ancient sites aren't just archaeological wonders anymore. They're strategic resources that could determine which civilizations survive the coming transformation. This geopolitical dimension has intensified the secrecy surrounding the discoveries. What began as scientific investigation has evolved into a classified race to understand and control technologies that could reshape global power structures overnight. The collaboration between research teams is giving way to national security restrictions and competing claims over access rights. Dr. Chen reports that her seismic monitoring data is now being classified by multiple government agencies. Electromagnetic readings from the complex are subject to export controls, typically reserved for advanced weapons systems. Even the mathematical formulas discovered in the chambers have been designated as sensitive information requiring security clearances to study. The researchers who experienced the most dramatic consciousness alterations are under particularly tight restrictions. Morrison hasn't been seen publicly since his unauthorized interview in late 2023. Vasquez was transferred to an undisclosed location for extended debriefing that has continued for over 6 months. Other enhanced individuals have simply disappeared from the scientific literature, their research contributions credited to unnamed collaborators. This suppression of information creates a paradox that may be intentional. The more governments try to control the knowledge emerging from the complex, the more they demonstrate that the knowledge is genuinely revolutionary. The classification efforts themselves confirm that something extraordinary is happening beneath Giza, something significant enough to justify unprecedented security measures. But secrecy can't contain seismic activity or electromagnetic emissions that are visible to any nation with appropriate monitoring equipment. Satellite data showing the thermal anomalies at Giza is available to dozens of countries. The global network of ancient sites generating coordinated signals can be detected by any government with sufficient technical resources. This creates a prisoner's dilemma on a planetary scale. Every nation knows that others are monitoring the same phenomena and drawing similar conclusions about their significance. But nobody wants to be the first to publicly acknowledge what they're seeing, fearing it would trigger international conflicts over access to the technologies involved. The result is a bizarre situation where the most significant discovery in human history is simultaneously known to every major government and officially acknowledged by none. Diplomatic cables obtained through various leaks reveal frantic behind-the-scenes negotiations over contingency protocols and resource allocation frameworks, without ever explicitly mentioning what resources or contingencies are being discussed. Meanwhile, the ancient systems continue their inexorable progression toward full activation. The seismic monitoring data shows the underground machinery reaching operational parameters that haven't been seen since the initial activation sequences began. Electromagnetic field strength continues to increase exponentially, and the consciousness effects are spreading beyond the research teams to affect support personnel, security staff, and even journalists covering the archaeological work. The thermal signatures detected by satellite surveillance have evolved from simple heat emissions to complex patterns that seem to encode information. Dr. Martinez's team has identified recurring mathematical sequences within the thermal data that correspond to advanced physics concepts. The complex isn't just warming up anymore. It's actively transmitting knowledge through multiple channels simultaneously. Ground-penetrating radar shows new chambers opening at depths that shouldn't be accessible given known construction techniques. These spaces appear to contain structures that are growing, expanding, reshaping themselves according to some predetermined plan, as if the complex is literally rebuilding itself in preparation for full operational status. Most unsettling are reports from the deepest monitoring stations. Sensors placed at maximum penetration depth are detecting movement patterns that suggest the presence of active machinery at levels far below any known construction. Massive mechanical systems operating with precision that implies sophisticated control mechanisms and power sources that remain completely mysterious. The electromagnetic emissions from these deep systems show modulation patterns that resemble communication protocols, not random energy discharge, but structured information transmission using frequencies that can penetrate solid rock for thousands of miles. If the complex is indeed trying to contact other ancient sites globally, it's using the planet itself as a transmission medium. This explains how sites as distant as Easter Island and Stonehenge could be responding to signals from Giza. The electromagnetic pulses are traveling through the Earth's crust, using geological structures as waveguides to carry complex information across continents. Each ancient site appears to be both a receiver and a transmitter in a global communication network that's been dormant for millennia. The implications for human technology are revolutionary. If we could understand how these ancient systems transmit information through solid matter across intercontinental distances, it could lead to communication technologies that make satellites and fiber optic cables obsolete. Global instant communication using the planet's own geological structure as the transmission medium. But accessing this technology requires understanding the consciousness enhancement process that seems to be its prerequisite. The mathematical formulas, the engineering principles, the operational procedures, all of it appears to be locked behind cognitive barriers that normal human consciousness can't penetrate. The enhanced researchers describe their new understanding as existing in dimensions of thought that don't translate into conventional language. They can manipulate the concepts internally, use them to solve problems and make predictions, but they struggle to communicate their insights to unenhanced colleagues in ways that preserve the essential meaning. This communication barrier is creating two distinct classes of researchers within the teams studying the complex. The enhanced individuals who can directly interface with the ancient systems and understand their outputs, and the unenhanced majority who must rely on simplified translations that lose crucial details in the conversion process. The social dynamics are becoming increasingly strained as the gap widens between these two groups. Enhanced researchers report feeling isolated by their inability to share their full understanding with former colleagues. Unenhanced team members describe growing frustration at being excluded from discoveries they helped make possible. Dr. Patel, who leads one of the international research consortiums, warns that this cognitive divide could fracture the scientific community investigating the complex. We're seeing the emergence of a caste system based on neurological compatibility with ancient technology, she observes. The enhanced individuals are becoming an intellectual elite who literally think in ways the rest of us can't access. The problem extends beyond academic politics. If the consciousness enhancement is indeed spreading through human contact with affected individuals, then society as a whole may soon face this same division. Enhanced humans who can interface with revolutionary technologies, and unenhanced humans who remain locked out of the new capabilities. The timeline for global activation makes this social fragmentation particularly dangerous. With less than 6 months remaining until the astronomical alignment triggers full system activation, there's insufficient time for gradual adaptation or careful integration of the consciousness enhancement process. Whatever changes are coming will affect humanity while we're still deeply divided about how to handle them. Recent intelligence reports suggest that some governments are already preparing for this scenario. Military units composed entirely of neurologically compatible personnel are being assembled. Research facilities designed to isolate enhanced individuals from general populations are under construction. Even evacuation plans for moving selected enhanced citizens to secure locations during the activation period. These preparations reveal the depth of official concern about what might happen when the ancient systems reach full operational status. The consciousness enhancement effects that have been limited to small research teams could potentially affect millions of people simultaneously if the global network of ancient sites activates as predicted. The sheer scale of such an event could overwhelm social institutions that aren't prepared for rapid cognitive changes in large population segments. Enhanced individuals might develop capabilities that make them incompatible with existing legal, economic, and political systems. Unenhanced populations might find themselves unable to understand or relate to enhanced family members, friends, and colleagues. Dr. Wong's analysis of the temporal mechanics equations suggests this social disruption might be intentional. The mathematics indicates that successful consciousness enhancement requires breaking existing social bonds and cognitive patterns, she explains. The process only works when individuals are forced to abandon their previous frameworks for understanding reality. This would mean the ancient builders designed their system to deliberately disrupt human civilization as part of the enhancement process. Social chaos wouldn't be an unfortunate side effect of consciousness upgrade. It would be a necessary prerequisite for the upgrade to function properly. The implications are terrifying. If Wong's interpretation is correct, then the approaching activation event isn't just going to reveal advanced technologies or expand human consciousness. It's going to shatter the social structures that hold human civilization together, forcing survivors to rebuild their societies around entirely new principles of organization and cooperation. But perhaps that's exactly what the builders intended. Perhaps they recognized that consciousness enhancement powerful enough to access their knowledge would be incompatible with the competitive, hierarchical social structures that characterize current human civilization. So here we stand at the edge of the abyss, staring into a mystery that refuses to be solved cleanly. The lost city beneath Giza represents either the greatest archaeological discovery in human history or the most elaborate deception ever orchestrated. But after diving deep into the evidence, analyzing the data, and following the trail of classified documents and leaked testimonies, one thing becomes crystal clear. Whether this is ancient technology or modern hoax, something is definitely happening down there, and it's accelerating toward a conclusion that will arrive whether we're ready or not. The question isn't what's beneath Giza anymore. The question is what's beneath us.